name is Eduardo Claro, and in this video I'm gonna start a new series of blog posts about all the different paths to connect to an OCI shared infrastructure autonomous database, ADB. Okay, so this is gonna be a series of 3 videos, and in these 3 videos I'm gonna explore all these paths to connect to the OCI ADB that uses shared infrastructure. Okay, this is the first video of the series, and in this first video of the series I'm gonna explore the connections that come from within the VCN. Okay, so you have here in this slide 9 types of connections, 9 paths to connect. Okay, and in this first video I'm gonna test the 5 first. Okay, so number 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Okay, let me show quickly each of them. Okay, so the first connection is when you are in a public subnet and you need to connect it to a public ADB. I mean an autonomous database that has a public endpoint. Okay, so the first path you can do when you are in a public subnet is you go to through an internet gateway that you have in your VCN, and you go to the internet and you access this public endpoint of the autonomous database. Okay, the second path is if you can if you are in a private subnet and you need to connect to this public ADB as well. Okay, then you can have a NAT gateway in your connected to your private subnet, and then you go to the internet as well. From this private subnet you reach the internet through the NAT gateway, and then you go to the autonomous database and you reach this public endpoint of the autonomous database. Okay, the third one is when you are in your desktop, not in a VCN, you are in your desktop and you connect directly from your desktop to the autonomous database. Okay, the public endpoint autonomous database. So you are in the internet, you connect, you just use the public endpoint and you go to the internet. Okay, the fourth connection is when you don't want to use the internet and you are in a public subnet, and then but you don't want the traffic to go through the internet. So what you do, you create a service gateway and then you connect through this service gateway. Okay, and you can do this from a public subnet or from a private subnet. Okay, the connection number 4 is from a public subnet through a service gateway into the public endpoint of the ADB, and the connection number 5 is from the private subnet through the service gateway to the public endpoint of the autonomous database. So this is the 5 first connections that I'm gonna show in this first video of the series, in first video and post of the series. Okay, so let's start with the first one. Okay, and I'm gonna do this using the numbers that are in this slide. Okay, so the number 1 and the steps in number 1 are related to the connection number 1 and so on. Okay, so the first connection I'm gonna show is from a public instance to an ADB with a public endpoint. So I'm gonna start from scratch. I have here a tenancy that is completely empty. So if you go to the VCN, you don't have anything. If you go to the compute instances, you don't have any running instance. All the instances I have are terminated from previous tests. Okay, so I'm starting from scratch, and let's do that. So the first step then is to create the ADB with a public endpoint and download the wallet. So let's do this. So I'm going to the Autonomous Data Warehouse here, and I'm going to create an autonomous database, okay? And I'm gonna use name Pub ADB, okay? I'm gonna use data warehouse. I'm gonna use shared infrastructure. I'm gonna put a password here. Let me just choose a password I always use for these tests. Okay, just a moment here. So I'm gonna put my password here. Okay, and I'm going to use, as this is the first one I'm creating as a public autonomous database, so allow secure access from everywhere. This is going to create a public endpoint, and so this ADB is going to be public. Okay, so let's create this autonomous database. I won't use any access control rules. Okay, so the first step is to create the autonomous database. Okay, while the autonomous database is being provisioned, a little later I'll come back to download the credentials, the wallet. So let's create the network components I'm gonna use. So let's go to network, virtual cloud network, create VCN, and I'm gonna use VCN1 with the CIDR 10.0.0/16. The 16 means that the first 16 bits, which is equivalent to the first 2 bytes, are the size of the network. So everything that is in 10.0 is inside this VCN, and the last 2 bytes or 16 bits are the numbers reserved for the servers and the resources that are going to be created in this VCN. Okay, so I'm gonna create this VCN, and inside the VCN I'm gonna create an internet gateway. Okay, so internet gateway, just put a name IG1, okay, and I'm gonna create a route table and point to the internet gateway. So here I'm gonna create a route table named pub rt1. Okay, I'm gonna add a route rule to the internet gateway, and I'm gonna direct all the traffic from all the sources, to all the destinations are going to traffic through the internet gateway. Okay, alright. Then I'm gonna create a public subnet, pub sub1, that is gonna use this CIDR and is going to use the pub rt route table that I have just created. So create subnet pub sub 10.0.0/24 route table pub rt1. Make sure that I'm choosing public. Okay, DHCP default, security list default. Alright, and in the default security list I'm gonna put rules to allow all ingress and egress traffic, because I don't want to bother with firewall rules in this particular serious posts. Okay, so let's remove all of the ingress rules created by default, and I'm just gonna put a generic rule that is going to allow all the traffic, all protocols, all sources with an ingress rule, and the egress rule is already default, allowing all the traffic. So okay, this is already done. Let's go to the next step, create a public virtual machine and configure it. So I'm gonna create a pub1 VM in the pub sub VCN1. Okay, so let's go there. I'm gonna create an instance named pub sub pub1 VM. I'm gonna use the VCN1, the PubSub1, and what else? Okay, I'm gonna create a new part of keys. I use one that I have. Okay, I'm gonna use one that I already have, that is this OCI key. Okay, and hit create. So I'm provisioning my virtual machine. Okay, so at this moment I am going to pause the video in order to wait for this VM to be provisioned, and I'll come back when it's ready for us to continue. Okay, and my virtual machine is already provisioned, so I'm able to continue following the steps of my post. So I have created. Now I'm going to configure the virtual machine. So let me take the public IP of this virtual machine, and let me save it here. So my pub1 VM has this public IP. So let me open a new terminal, and I'm going to connect via SSH. I'm gonna use the key that I have provided when I created this machine, and then I'm going to connect to the machine. Okay, so I'm connected, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna install some packages to have Oracle Instant Client installed. So sudo su yum install Oracle release EL7, and then the specific packages for the instant client. Okay, second step. Okay, okay, let me call SQL Plus to see if it's working. Yeah, so I have Oracle Client installed in this VM. Let's proceed. I'm gonna back to the console to download the wallet of my Autonomous Database. So I'll go here, click in the Autonomous Database, Service Console, and then I'm going to Administration, Download Client Wallet. I need to provide the password to download the wallet. Okay, download, save it. Okay, so I can close the console. I download the wallet, and now I'm going to copy the wallet. So let me show it here. So let me go to my downloads folder, and I have here the wallet. Okay, and so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna copy this wallet to my virtual machine. Okay, and I'm gonna copy this to the home folder. Okay, copied. Okay, let me go ahead and unzip the wallet and adjust the configuration. So I'm connected here. I have the wallet. Let me do something. I'm gonna create a folder named pub. I'm gonna move the wallet for the public autonomous database into the folder. I'm going to change directory to the folder, and now I'm going to unzip the wallet. Okay, and then I'm gonna change the sqlnet.org and put there the directory where I have the wallet file. Okay, so vi sqlnet.org. Here in the directory I'm gonna put the correct directory for my case. Okay, so following here I have done all these steps, and now I can test my connection. Let's see. Let me configure the TNS admin environment variable to the current folder, and then let me use SQL Plus with my password, which is test ADW123. Test exclamation mark ADW123, and now I'm connected. Okay, so it is working. Select start from $PDBs, for example. Okay, task $PDBs. Select cloud identity from $PDBs. Okay, name pub ADB. Great. So my first connection have worked. Okay, let's come back to the slide to see what I did. So I have a public subnet. This public virtual machine is in the public subnet, connected to the internet through an internet gateway, and then it was able to reach the public endpoint of my autonomous database. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna set up the second connection, which is pretty similar, but instead of using a source from a public subnet, I'm gonna use a virtual machine in a private subnet and reach the internet through a net gateway instead of a internet gateway. Okay, so I'll use, of course, the same ADB I have, and then in my virtual network I'm gonna create, inside my virtual network I'm gonna create now the net gateway that I'm gonna use. Okay, just put the name. Okay, I'm gonna create a private route table with name priv_rt1, and I'm gonna route all the traffic through the net gateway, all the external traffic through the net gateway. Okay, create route rule, and then I'm gonna create a private subnet using 10.0.1.0 and the private route table I've just created. So priv sub1 10.0.1.0.24 priv rt private subnet DHCP and security list default. Okay, now I have my private subnet, and now I'm gonna create a VM using this private subnet. Okay, so let's go here and let's create a VM, priv1 VM. I'm gonna use priv sub1 subnet. Okay, I'm gonna choose the same key used before, and I'm gonna click create. Okay, again I'm gonna pause the video and wait some minutes for this private virtual machine to be provisioned for me to continue. Okay, now I have my private virtual machine already provisioned, And so let's continue. Okay, now I'm gonna connect to this private virtual machine, okay, and install Oracle client as well. But as this is a private machine, I cannot connect directly from the internet to there. So what I need to do is I'm gonna come back to my desktop and I'm gonna copy the OCI key, my private key, into the public virtual machine I had created before. Okay, in order for after that to use this to connect from the public into the private machine. Okay, so I'm gonna copy the key to the .ssh folder. Let me come back to my virtual machine. I am already in the pub1 VM. If I go to .ssh, I have the OCI key here that I have just copied, and then let me note the private IP address that was created for this private virtual machine, and let me note this. So priv1 VM is 10.0.1.2, and then I'm gonna connect ssh-e OCI key OPC at 10.0.1.2. First connection. Okay, yes, and then I am in the private virtual machine. Let me change my connection to root, and then I'm able to again install the Oracle client. Okay, first the Oracle base package, and then the specific packages for the Oracle client. Okay. Oops, I forgot to copy the wallet. I have to copy the wallet from the public to the private VM. So let me SCP this. So let me wait for this to finish. I think I have a problem with internet connection right now. Okay, finished. Let me exit and come back to my pub VM, and then I can copy the wallet that was already there into my private VM in the home folder as well. Then I can SSH to the private VM again. I have the wallet. I'm gonna do the same. Make dir pub, move the wallet into the pub folder, change directory to the pub folder, unzip the wallet, edit the SQLnet to put the correct directory here, which is the same, /home/opc/pub. Okay, all right, and let me show you something. In the TNS names, there's a TNS names here as well that was inside the wallet zip file, and it has 3 entries for the Autonomous Database. As this is an autonomous data warehouse, it has 3 entries with a high, low, and median. Okay, and the difference among these 3 entries is how this connection is going to be able to use resources like CPU and parallelism, depending on which type of connection you choose. Okay, so I installed client, I do all of this, I configure the SQLnet, and then again I can test my second connection. Okay, SQL Plus, and let's see if it works. Great. Okay, desk $PDBs, select cloud identity from $PDBs. Oops, from not $PDBs. Okay, Pub ADB, everything is okay. So now I completed the connection between a private instance in a private subnet going to the internet through, private virtual machine inside a private subnet going to the internet through a NAT gateway and reaching the ADB public endpoint. Okay, this is the second connection I'm going to show. Okay, and it worked. Okay, and now let's go to the third one. Okay, this one is very easy, as I have already here the wallet. Okay, here what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna let me remove this folder. I'm gonna create again a temporary folder. I'm gonna copy the wallet into this folder. Let me use the same configuration. Make dir pub cp wallet into this pub. Okay, let's go to the pub folder. Okay, and unzip the file. Okay, this is my folder for this configuration in my machine. Okay, so let me adjust this in SQLnet. Okay, I already have SQL Plus installed in my machine. Okay, so I'm good to go. Let me show in the slide. I have my desktop. It's in the outside world. It's outside the VCN, outside the OCI, and I'm going to connect directly through the internet to the public endpoint of my autonomous database. Okay, so let's test this. This is the very easy one. Okay, so just unzip the wallet, configure the SQLnet. I already had the SQL Plus configured, so let's try the connection. It's taking a little bit time. Oops, service name. Let me see. Pub ADB low. Oops. Oops. Of course. TNS could not resolve the connection, the connect identifier. This is because I didn't configure the TNS admin. So let me do this, and now the connection works. Okay, great. Desk $PDBs, set line size 80, desk $PDBs, select cloud identity from $PDBs. Oops, another typo. Cloud identity from $PDBs. Great. Okay, so I was able to show the connection from an external desktop into a public autonomous database. Okay, the next one I'm gonna show, the next two is the 4 and 5, very similar to the 1 and 2, but instead of traversing the connection through the internet, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna configure a service gateway in my VCN, and configure the connection to go through this service gateway to reach the public endpoint of my autonomous database. And the number 4 is from a public subnet connecting through a service gateway and targeting the public autonomous database, and the number 5 is from the private subnet through the service gateway connecting to the public endpoint of my autonomous database. So in order for these two to work, I have to set up this service gateway, okay? So let me go to the number 4 here, okay? And I'm gonna use again the same ADB I already have, okay? And so I have to create a service gateway and configure it, okay? So let's do this. Let's go to the VCN again, okay? And I'm gonna create a public route table pointing to the internet gateway, okay? Sorry, first, oops, I'm sorry, I'm not going to create a new VCN. I'm sorry for that. Let's go inside the VCN, route table, create route table, and then pub rt2, and then configure it to go to the internet. And this is temporary, right? I'm going to configure this rule to go to the internet just to be able to install SQL Plus. Okay, after that I'm gonna remove this rule for the virtual machine I'm going to create, not to have any connection to the internet after installing SQL Plus. Okay, so let me create a public subnet, a new public subnet, pub sub2 10.0.20/24, okay, and I'm going to use the pub rt2 that I have just created. It's gonna be public, okay, default DHCP, default security list, and then create, okay, and after that I'm gonna create a public virtual machine just like the first one I have created. Okay, so create instance, pub 2 VM. It's going to use subnet pub sub 2. I'm gonna use the same key files again, and I'm gonna create this third virtual machine. Okay, and again I'm gonna pause the video to wait this virtual machine to be provisioned, and after this is provisioned I'm gonna again copy the wallet into there, install SQL Plus, configure everything, create the service gateway, and go from there. Okay, let's wait some minutes for this to be provisioned, and we'll be back in a hurry. Okay, back again. The pub2 VM is already provisioned, so let's continue. Okay, so let's SSH for this. Oops, let me first copy this public the public IP, but I'm gonna use the private IP, because you remember after I install the SQL Plus, I'm gonna remove the access to the internet. So if I use the public IP, I'm gonna lose the connection, and I don't want this. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come back to my pub1 VM, okay, and I'm going to copy the wallet from the pub VM to the new private VM. Okay, it's this very same IP. Okay, first connection, I copied, then I'm gonna connect to this VM. Okay, so please note here, pub2 VM. Okay, this is the new VM I have just created, and again I'm going to install Oracle client. Oops, I'm here. Okay, okay, and then again work with the wallet and then test the connection. Pretty much similar to what I have done for the previous tests. Okay, so I'm here. Let me create a pub folder. Let me move the wallet for the new folder. Let me go to the folder and unzip the wallet. Okay, let me copy the folder and put it into sqlnet.ora. Okay, this time I won't forget to configure the DNS.admin to the folder I am. Oops, I'm sorry. In order for this to work, I need to create a service gateway, of course. So let me pause here. I'm going to networking, virtual cloud network. I'm going to my VCN. Here I have service gateways, and I'm going to create a service gateway named SG1, and I have two options. I can point a service gateway to the object storage or to all the other services, As I'm going to connect to an ADB, I'm going to choose these all other services, all IAD services in Oracle Services Network. Okay. Okay. So I created the service gateway. Okay. Sorry, let me come back to the English version of my post. Okay, so I'm here, created a service gateway. Okay, and now let us change the route table pub rt2. Okay, and this connection won't have an internet gateway anymore. So let's see this working. At this moment, I have this pub2 VM has a connection to the internet, right? So if I ping the Google DNS, it works. Okay, but I'm gonna remove this. Okay, and after that I cannot access internet anymore. Okay, so this machine pub2 VM doesn't have a connection to the internet anymore. What I'm gonna do now is, in this route table, I'm gonna create a new route rule pointing to the service gateway. Again, I have to choose all IAD services. I'm gonna use the service gateway that I have just created and add the rule. So now this route table that is connected to that subnet, which is being used by this pub2 VM, has a connection to the service gateway, not to the internet, but to the service gateway. Okay, so if my connection works, at this moment I'm pretty sure that it's using the service gateway because I don't have the connection to the internet anymore. So coming back here, I have everything set up. Okay, let me confirm I have set up the TNS admin variable. Okay, and then I can just connect using SQL+. Perfect. Okay, again select cloud identity from $PDBs, and third time in a row I had a typo. Oh, fourth time. select start from v dollar, oh Jesus, PDBs, select cloud identity from v dollar PDBs. Perfect. Okay, pub ADB. Okay, so as I don't have connection to the internet, just confirming again, okay, I cannot reach the internet, okay, I am pretty sure that this connection is actually using the path number 4. So I'm in a public subnet, but I'm not going through the internet. I'm going through a service gateway here. So from a public subnet, connecting through a service gateway and reaching the public endpoint of my autonomous database. Okay, and after that I'm gonna do the number 5, that is very similar, but using now a source in a private subnet, not a public subnet. Okay, so this is the number 5, and it's the last one that I'm gonna test in this first post and in this first video. Okay, so let's go to the VCN and take the route table priv rt1, okay, and remove the NAT gateway just like I've done right now. Remove the NAT gateway route and add a new route gateway pointing to the service gateway. Okay, the same thing I've done to the other one. Okay, so okay, and now I'm all set up. What I have to do now is let me come back to my pub1 VM that is working with it as a bastion host for me, and let me from there connect to my priv1 VM. Okay, priv1 VM. Okay, let me show that I don't have connection to the internet anymore because I removed the route to the net gateway, so I don't have access to the internet. Okay, and now let me see, I can use the same configuration I have already put for this machine. Just export tnstdmin again and check the connection using SQL Plus. Okay, and it worked again. Okay, so select cloud identity from v dollar PDBs, no typo this way, and connect it to the pub ADB. Okay, so as I don't have, again let me check it, as I don't have any connection to the internet from this pub2 VM, sorry, from this priv1 VM, I'm pretty sure that this fifth connection, this test, was also using the service gateway I have created. Okay, and in order for me to test this and make sure that it is really using this, let me go ahead and in this priv rt I'm gonna remove this service gateway route. Okay, and please note that if I try to connect again through SQL Plus, I can't connect anymore because I don't have a route for the service gateway nor to the internet. So this SQL Plus connection cannot reach the public endpoint of my ADB anymore. Okay, so let me abort this. No connection. I'm gonna add the rule again, service gateway, all services SG1, add route rule, and after I re-add the route rule, the connection start working again. Okay, so that's it. We were able to see and test all these 5 first connections. Okay, so from public from a public subnet through the internet and through a service gateway to the public ADB, from a private subnet through the internet and through the service gateway to the public ADB, and from an external server, an external host, connecting directly to the public ADB through the internet. Okay, that's it. I hope you enjoy that. I'm sorry for my typos. I'm sorry for some words that I say wrongly in English, but I'm pretty much improving. So I hope you like it. It's the first time I create a video speaking in English. I hope you like it, and give me some feedback about the post, about the video, and about everything. I hope you like it, and see you in the next video. Okay, thank you, bye.